Former National Security Advisor to Vice President Dick Cheney, John Hanna, joins us right now, not so much to talk about what's going on in Venezuela, but I do want to talk a little bit about what's going on, more to the point with North Korea, with Iran, and Iran first off. And I join these countries at the hip because they're very guilty of provocative behavior. And just yesterday, Iran firing a missile in the Strait of Hormuz, a very busy oil passageway. Oil barely moving, ditto today. But what do you make of this? This is continuing a pattern on the part of the Iranians.
Yeah, hi, Neil. This really is a potent reminder of the kind of growing threat that an unconstrained Iran poses to American interests throughout the Middle East. And in this specific instance, obviously, the safety of our ships in the Persian Gulf and the free flow of oil through the vital Straits of Hormuz.
John, what is our policy when that happens? I mean, of course, we all remember when the Iranians seized that vessel and held those sailors captive for a while. Very embarrassing, repulsive video that sort of turned the collective Western world's stomach. We have vowed that won't happen again. President Trump has said that won't happen again. But what do we do?
Well, at some point in time, Neil, my guess is that the Iranians do cross a threshold and force a U.S. response, or else there is no U.S. response, and then the Iranians' freedom of operations to increase their aggression throughout the Middle East will simply be supercharged. So I think we're probably heading to a moment when the United States really is going to have to put its foot down, and if it's harassed by one of those Iranian speedboats in the Gulf, if they're threatening our ships, to finally do what President Obama refused to do, but to put one of them to the bottom of the Persian Gulf.
Do you think, I was mentioning North Korea at the outset, John, that they talked to us, said, all right, you distract them over here in the Korean Peninsula, we'll rattle their cages in the Strait of Hormuz, and that they know we're spread thin. Certainly look outside Syria with ever since the Tomahawk missile attack. That we might get involved there, and on we go.
Yeah, no, I think there's no doubt there is an interactive quality to this. And we know, frankly, that these are not just two rogue actors in disparate parts of the world. North Korea and Iran are really joined at the hip.
Right.
An unbelievable number of Iran's most dangerous weapon systems, including virtually all of its ballistic missile systems, are built off of North Korean models. So these rogue actors are working closely together, trying to increase the pressure and stress on U.S. forces as much as possible and take advantage wherever they can.
John, do you think they're testing Trump to see if there's much action to match his words?
I do think some of that is going on. I would say that since President Trump's rise to power, since he put the Iranians on notice, and since he fired those missiles into Syria against Iran's ally in the Assad regime, the Iranians have been very careful to stay below the threshold of another ballistic missile test. The problem with deterrence is that you've got to really sustain it and keep it up. And these kinds of very good tactical steps by the president, I think, now need to be followed up and embedded in a real full-blown strategic, comprehensive strategy to push back, contain, and diminish Iranian power in the Middle East.
Thank you, John Hanna. Good seeing you.
Thank you, Neil.